You're listening and watching the Indy Drills podcast with Chad Wilson. I am happy to be here with you. Second episode of the year. Like I said last week, going to start cracking these things out each and every week. There's a lot of stuff for us to get through and get to as we roll through what's the off season right now. There's only two teams left playing football. That's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. After last week's action, were any of you guys surprised by anything that happened last week? I'll say I was surprised by Philadelphia putting up 55 points. I kind of thought the Commanders had a chance at winning that game for most of the week, but as Saturday creeped into Sunday, I started to have that feeling that Washington was up against some really, really big odds. It's your essentially your third straight or fourth straight road game. And you've got a rookie quarterback, albeit, he does a lot that you wouldn't, that would make him not look like a rookie. And I'm talking about Jaden Daniels, but at some point, man, you're going to be made to look like a rookie. And that really wasn't on him last week, I would say, but the defense just didn't come up. But Philadelphia putting up 55 points, maybe give you some hope that someone can knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're, in that boat, if you are a kind of person that wants to see the Chiefs knocked off, Chiefs got it done again. Poor Josh Allen. I mean, he didn't play his greatest game, and I thought in that first series he probably should have had a couple of interceptions thrown there, but I was curious about, some of the fourth down calls continuously doing the tush push thing. I guess they were trying to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, man, James Cook has been a cog for you guys all year. He's been great. And I thought maybe you could have used him more in those situations. But anyway, this is a DB podcast, and I'm happy to have all you guys here. Feel free to like and share this, and also subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the show on whatever you are listening to this on, whether that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or some other podcast streaming device. Be sure to subscribe here so you don't miss out on the next show like this one. And of course, if you're watching here on YouTube and you're not yet subscribed to this channel and you play a coach train defensive backs, man, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? Go ahead and do that right now. Perhaps it's slipped your mind. You need to get on that quick, fast, and in a hurry. As always, the Indy Drills podcast is sponsored by 101 DB Tips. Where else are you going to get the best 100 plus DB tips ever than in this book right here, 101 DB Tips. This is my creation. All of the stuff that I've learned over the years, whether that was as a player or as a coach, and then now as a trainer, all stuffed into this one spot right here. And it's available both as a soft cover as well as an ebook. The ebook is delivered to you immediately after you order it. But listen, you want to know how to play nickelback, you want to know how to play corner, safety, how to train in the offseason, how to watch film. All of that great stuff is right here in this book, 101 DB Tips. I'll have a link to it in the description down below. Definitely need to get your hands on that. And if you're into DB wear, you can get a nice shirt like this, play defense, just a mentality that you guys should have at all time, plus long sleeves, got hoodies, got sweatpants, got all kinds of great stuff, including books at the All Life DB Cap shop. There will be a link in the description to that as well. Let's get into the matters at hand. What's in the books here? Do you guys watch the Senior Bowl? Do people really watch the game on that? I don't know if you do or don't, but we all watch the one-on-ones. If we play defensive back or you're a wide receiver, you're definitely watching those one-on-ones. Quite frankly, I think maybe a little bit too much gets put on all that stuff, but I get what it is. One-on-ones are a really big deal for both wide receivers and defensive back. It's mano-a-mano, and seeing those films and all those clips on Twitter and things of that nature allows people to make a lot of commentary on it and also evaluate, some techniques that are out there. I saw some wild releases by some wide receivers, and then I saw some DBs out there lacking technique, and then guys with really, really great technique. And this is going to be a consistent theme for me as we're in this off season, but you really can't put a price on getting well coached in your high school and college career, guys. Getting a good start to your football career with good fundamentals being taught and coaches that care and give you good technique lasts a lifetime. And you're seeing some of that when you look at these one-on-ones, guys that have had some technique put into them. They've got tools in their tool belt, and they're able to use them in these situations. These guys are actually really good players in in the actual game itself as well. But there's nothing like having great technique at this position. It's about as technical a position as any out there. Say to people, offensive line and defensive back kind of really have some of the same, responsibilities out there. You're in front of a really good athlete. You're going backwards. They're going forwards. So if you are not on top of your technique, you're going to struggle there. And so it's a very technical position. And guys that get good coaching, good technique taught to them early on in their career are guys that tend to last. The rest of the guys are playing catch up. So if you're, in the middle of your college career, exiting your college career, and you're lacking technique, I'm here to tell you, you got a lot of work to put in. It's going to be a struggle as you get to that next level. If you're in high school right now and you're getting taught some really good technique, cherish that. Please do not overlook that and do not take that for granted. It is going to come back and pay off really big dividends for you. Got technique and you're a great athlete, you're going to be an NFL player. All right, barring injury, you're going to be able to play in the National Football League and play this game at its highest level. But technique really does neutralize a lot of things that happen offensively. Technique can neutralize speed. So it is something that you really should pay a whole lot of attention to. Technique does matter. So some of you guys out there that are big time athletes and you're, thinking about where you're going to go to school, don't just chase them. Chase some development. As good as you may think that you are, and if you're a 4 or 5 star athlete, there are plenty of people at the college level, or when you go to camps and go all these different places that make you think you've made it already, and don't listen to that stuff. To quote Nick Saban, it's all rat poison. There's a whole, I don't care who you are coming out of high school. You be Jeremiah Smith coming out of high school. They're still developing. I'm here to tell you, I watched Jeremiah Smith play high school live. I mean, he's from Florida. I'm down here and watched him play plenty of high school football. Was he a beast? Yes, he was. Have I noticed a noticeable difference in all areas for him just from his final year of high school through this freshman year of college? Yes, I have. And there's no doubt that wide receivers get developed when they go to Ohio State. So for my DBs out there that are in the glorious position of having multiple options in terms of choosing where they want to go to school, either this upcoming season, if you're leaving now or you've got another season, don't just chase them. Chase technique, chase development, because, you want to see this position that the guys are in right now at the Senior Bowl. They're trying to come out and they're trying to, achieve an NFL career, something they've probably thought about all their lives. You're going to wish you had that development. You're going to wish you had that technique and all that good stuff when you get to this point. You're not going to feel really good about yourself if you got yourself a couple extra $1,000. I know that sounds crazy, but you are trying to play NFL football. You'll get used to that money and you'll want to continue and move on to the next level and be known for what it is that you do out on the field. And if you're lacking there because you didn't have the development, well, then it's a very, very sad song. Hope you saved some of that money and did the right things with it. All right. Shiloh Sanders. He is the eldest of the second marriage sons for Deion Sanders. He does have an older son, Deion Sanders Jr., but he is he's the guy behind the social media. What's the word I'm looking for? He's very good with social media. But by the way, Deion Sanders Jr. did play college football. I believe at Houston, was a wide receiver, very good at it, but no longer playing. It's the two younger ones, but the older of the two younger ones, Shiloh Sanders, who is the safety, was out and at the Senior Bowl this week. And of course, anything Sanders is highly watched and apparently criticized. There are a lot of Deion Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, Shadur Sanders haters out there. This whole cult of them. They're almost like a mega cult. And they were on Shiloh Sanders big this week because there were clips of him playing one-on-one, doing very well. Guys, that's just not his strength. That's not what he does, okay? And if you're going to judge a guy as a safety off of what he does in one-on-ones in practice, well then, look, get rid of your evaluator, throw that stuff out of the window, You're not good at it. This is not what you do. All right. Shiloh Sanders is not a one-on-one safety. That's not his game. Okay. It's a guy that plays on the hash, plays in the post, and will knock the hell out of you. Okay. Pretty good tackler. I think he was third on the team in tackles despite missing games. That's what he is. All right. And plays with a good amount of intelligence back there, as you would expect. And is a solid tackler. That's what a safety is. They're not supposed to be one-on-one cover guys. Some guys can do it. Some guys can't. All right. There's a guy that goes to the Pro Bowl all the time by the name of Buda Baker. You would think he doesn't belong in the NFL if you just watched him do one-on-ones. It's not the guy that he is, but he's in the Pro Bowl every year. All right. Why? Because he does a lot of great things that safeties need to do. First of all, he's a solid tackler. Second, he plays with intelligence. Third, he can play around the line of scrimmage and blitz into the backfield and make tackles. And that's what I think Shiloh Sanders can be at this next level. All right. This is a guy who has no problem throwing his body around and kind of knows what's coming. I see him communicating out on that field. So if you're in this Deion Haters Club, Colorado Buffaloes Hater Club, Sanders Boys Haters Club, and you're wishing ill will on Shiloh Sanders' NFL career, you might get disappointed. All that kid needs to do is end up in the right system, and he could be a solid NFL football player. Is he made for every system? No. There may be systems where they're asking these safeties to cover one-on-one more than they should. And, yeah, they probably will do well in a system like that. That's like when Jamal Adams went to Seattle and they started asking him to cover a whole bunch. Not what he does. And, of course, people took the liberty of calling Jamal trash and things of that nature. Okay, maybe it could be made to look that way. You're just asking the guy to do stuff that he doesn't do. So Shiloh Sanders ends up in a system that works for him. He's going to be a damn good football player for them. Going to be a solid football player just like he was at Colorado for the Buffaloes. You want to know what's crazy? I think with Matt Eberflus now being named the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, Shiloh Sanders would do very well in the Matt Eberflus defense. Very much a too-high, cover two type of guy, and Shiloh Sanders can thrive in something like that. He can play on that hash and in the post with some intelligence, go run down balls, make plays on footballs, and make tackles. He'd do very well as a Dallas Cowboy, just like his pops. Wouldn't that piss a bunch of you guys off? But you guys can let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Do you think Shiloh Sanders is an NFL football player? Do you think he'll have success at the next level? What round do you think he'll be drafted? Do you think he'll be drafted? All those are questions I would love for you guys to answer for me in the comment section here. So feel free to answer that question. It's time to head out to the mailbag. And I've got a really good one this week. This is probably a common question. A lot of you guys watching this, probably going through this, are going to sit here and wish that you asked this question. But my man George in Palmdale asked it for you, so we're going to get on that right now. And before I, read this question from George, if you guys need a question answered about DB play coverages, anything of that nature, feel free to reach out to me, C. Wilson, at alliesdbcamp.com. Of course, you can make a comment with your question on this video. If you're just listening to this on one of your streaming devices, I think if you're listening to this on Spotify for podcasters, you can ask your question there. So I'd be more than happy to take your question there. And I just might use it on the next Indy Drills podcast. Either way, though, try to get an answer for you and get you some help with whatever you've got going on pertaining to DB play, linebacker play, coverage, anything of that nature. All right. George in Palmdale says, I coached the DBs in high school, and I'm having the hardest time keeping my corners from opening the gate and press. How do you get your guys to stay square? All right. And like I said, that's a common problem, especially at the high school level. George, I'll say this. There are a number of reasons why that happens. One of the biggest ones is fear. All right. It's a defensive back not trusting his speed, probably enough. Opening the gate opens up all of those fears and releases all of those fears. When you open the gate, you allow a wide receiver to just take off and turn on his speed, and now you're at a disadvantage. It's hard to get that across to a new defensive back, because he thinks, if I don't get myself into a running position very fast, if I don't open my hips and get into a running position really, really fast, I have no chance against this guy. I understand the thinking there, especially when you do, but the truth of the matter is if you just open up and decide to run and that guy is indeed faster than you, you're inviting him to a race that you can't win. The second reason is just guys don't trust the tools. They don't trust their technique. And if you're trying to teach the guys, George, hard press technique, you should spend a good amount of time teaching them how to kick slide and doing it the right way, tiny steps, but doing it quickly, being on the balls of their feet. And if they do it enough, they will start to get comfortable with it. And of course, they will use it. They're not going to want to use a tool out on the field in a one-on-one situation where, especially in high school, everyone's got an ego and no one wants to get sacrificed out there because, the crowd can be mean when you get beat as a defensive back. They don't feel comfortable in their technique. They're just simply not going to use it. So you've got to get these guys to feel comfortable with their kick slide. One of the things that I would have guys do when they were new and they were really struggling with the kick slide, some guys are going to be naturally good at it, some aren't, is I would tell the guy just do 100 yards of kick slides. And how that would work is you start at the goal line and you kick slide for 5 to the right, kick slide for 5 back to the left. That's 10 yards. Stop, pause 10, 15 seconds, and do it again. You do that all the way down to the other goal line and turn back around and do it again. All right, so it's kick right for 5 yards, okay, and then you cover 5 yards, so you're kicking at a 45-degree angle. Let me do a better job of explaining it. You're going to line up square at the goal line, okay, facing through the back of the end zone, and then you're going to kick diagonally for about 5 yards. So that's about a good 4 or 5 kick slides to the right, but you're doing it at a 45 angle, and that's going to take you out to the 5-yard. All right. You hit the ground, right? You pause, or you don't even need to pause. You kick for 5, you get that opposite foot in the ground, and you kick back right away for another 5 yards, and you get to the 10-yard line. You can stop right there, pause for about 10 seconds, and then just repeat, and do that all the way down the field to the other side. Now, if you started off kicking to the right, when you come back, you can start off kicking to the left, whatever the case may be. You get about 200 yards of kick slides in there, and that doesn't take very long. Yeah, your legs are going to burn a little bit, especially in the beginning, because you're going to need to be in a good position. You're going to need your hips low. You need to have your knees bent, but at least you're getting the reps in, and it won't be long before they start feeling comfortable with that movement. The problem with defensive back is that a lot of what we do here, a lot of our movements are not natural. We're going backwards. We're going at an angle. We're doing stuff like a kick slide. It's not stuff you do normally in your everyday life or even in any other athletics. You're not really doing that in soccer. Yes, you play defense in soccer, but you're not kick sliding. There's a really whole bunch of backpedaling, I would say, in soccer. You're not backpedaling in basketball. Yes, you do have to play defense, but albeit in a smaller area, there are a lot of unnatural moves at defensive back and guys that has to master them. So make sure they're mastering that kick slide. Get them to do it as much as possible. Repetition. And the last thing I would say is fix how they are at the line of scrimmage. First of all, a lot of guys line up at the wrong depth. I've seen guys, especially at camps and at 7-on-7s, they'll line up super close to the wide receiver. I mean, damn near their head in the wide receiver's chest. And then when the ball is snapped, they don't even touch the wide receiver. All right. So the depth is a problem. If you're going to line up that close to a wide receiver, first of all, you're going to be offsides in a real game. But if you're going to be doing that at a camp or you're going to be doing that at a 7-on-7, for God's sakes, if you line up that close to the wide receiver, the moment he moves, get hands on. Because if you don't, his first step, left or right, is going to put him even with you, with his hips pointing up the field and your hips pointing down the field. And by the time you turn around, he's going to be gone. All right. You're going to be in a foot race. And if a guy gets in that situation enough times, he's just going to realize I need to open right away so that I can run with it. So a lot of times a guy's lined up at the wrong depth at the line of scrimmage and they feel pressured by the very first move that the wide receiver makes. And that's problematic. That's when the hips get to opening, and that's when they open the gate and it turns into a foot race. And the wide receiver is allowed to run straight down the field, leaving space to the inside and the outside, and they can work their whole route tree there. So let's get the alignment right, okay, and make sure a guy has a really good kick slide. And you could start from there. And that's going to allow you to have these guys use some technique at the line of scrimmage. One of the biggest reasons why they don't use the technique is because they're aligned wrong. And the thing, man, really is their eyes, okay? I coach eyes in press more than anything else. First thing I'm looking at are eyes. And I will say this to a lot of my defensive back coaches out here. I know the common thing in one-on-ones is to stand behind the defensive backs when they're doing the one-on-ones, because you want to be down the field at the end near them to give them instruction. More times than not, you need to take yourself down to the other side, stand behind a wide receiver, and watch your DB's eyes in press. I guarantee you a lot of them have it wrong. There are guys that may start off with their eyes on the hips, and then the moment the guy moves, the eyes go up. And they're going to see shoulders shaking really fast, and their technique's going to leave, okay? They're either going to open the gate right away because they feel funny, or they're going to spread apart their feet, and that's going to be a problem for them. So you're going to correct that by first looking at their eyes. If you're standing back behind them, you're going to yell out your instruction, hey, don't open the gate. Hey, don't spread your feet at the line of scrimmage and all that. All of that started by the eyes being wrong. And you're going to have guys that will repeatedly start with their eyes on the hips, and then the eyes will pump up a guy the moment a guy moves. If you've tried with that guy to get him to keep his eyes on the hips and he can't, I might have mentioned this last week, have them start with the eyes on the foot. Specifically, just look at the back foot. The natural head movement up that they can't seem to be able to shake will take them from the guy's feet to his hips, and ultimately that's where you want their eyes to be. But do more times where you're standing behind a wide receiver and in front of your DB in press and watching what their eyes are doing. Fix the eyes. You can fix a lot of problems that come behind that, and one of those is opening the gate. So, George, I hope that provides you with a little insight into how you can fix that open the gate issue. Yes, I'm not here trivializing it. It happens a lot, and it can be difficult. But if you give the guys the tools, learning the kick slide, get them aligned right so they're not all on top of the wide receiver and they don't feel pressured by that first move. And if you fix their eyes, okay, you coach up their eyes and get them to fix their eyes, I feel pretty strongly you're going to be able to alleviate that problem for most, if not all, of your defensive backs. So give that a try, George, and we'll see if we can get these guys out opening the gate and letting the wide receivers run all up into the yard and through the house. All right, so I appreciate that, George. I think I'm going to start giving away some apparel. I think I'm going to start giving away some Play Defense T-shirts. I think that's the thing. I think I'm starting that right now. So you guys send your questions in. You can put them in the comment section, or you can send them to me at cwilson@alleyesdbcamp.com. And if I use your question, I will mail out to you a Play Defense T-shirt, compliments of the All Eyes DB Camp show. All right. What are we moving on to next? It's the something that I wanted to talk about. And speaking of press, I get this question a lot. What press technique should I use? Which it goes like this. Which press technique is best? It's almost like I'm at an election and I need to choose one candidate or the other. And it's just not that simple. The answer to that is it depends. What does it depend on? It depends on the makeup of the player. It depends on what the player does well and what he's comfortable with. And if you're a really solid player, it depends on the situation, because really, realistically, you should be able to use a number of different techniques. And by that, I really just break press techniques down to three simple ones. One is hard press, where you're at the line of scrimmage, moving at a 45-degree angle with the receiver as he tries to get outside of your frame, or being right there at that line of scrimmage to get hands on his chest if he tries to come right at you. That's what hard press is. Essentially, that's what it is. Then there's soft press, which contains two techniques. One is an inch technique, where as the wide receiver moves off the line of scrimmage, you are inching, taking tiny steps backwards and attempting to kick slide upon his exit. You don't get as many kick slides because as you do in hard press because the receiver is gaining speed towards you, but you're inching back. You're trying to invite him into your space. Then you get hands on. You try to move him off the line that he wants to operate on, and you go from there. So that's inch. That's one technique in the soft press family. And then the other technique is a motor technique where you're more getting out. And I do have videos on motor technique on this channel. So you'd have to find them there if you're watching me on YouTube. I do have a great video on that breaks it down, but essentially it's getting a foot in the ground, kind of pedaling out, all right, motoring out, getting your space over the top. So you're near the receiver. You're really making a serious effort to stay over the top of the wide receiver. You're not going to get as many kick slides in at all, if any, because the receiver is going to have a good amount of speed going. So you're simply just not going to feel comfortable kick sliding and thinking you're going to be able to stay over the top of it. So the idea is to just kind of try and mirror the release with a kind of a pedal, stay over the top for as long as you can, and then running with the receiver there. It's really good for vertical routes, not so much for stuff like slants and things of that nature. So personally, if I'm just taking raw data, I like taller corners to play hard press. Because really, what's the point of you being up there if you can't use your 6 foot plus frame, your long arms, and smother a guy at the line of scrimmage? Because essentially, press technique was invented to change the shape of the route, disrupt the timing, and things of that nature. And frankly, the best way to do that is to play hard press. Get up in there, get your hands on that receiver, or make him run wide left or right to get away from that jam. So we're changing the shape of the route. We're changing the timing. He doesn't get to the depth at the time that the quarterback needs him to get to that depth. And that's what we're looking to do. And that really works well for big, tall, long corners that have God's gift of length to really make a guy go way around. Okay, get him off of that line that receivers want to run. So if you're a 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot plus defensive back, I'm trying to teach you that. If you come to me, that's the first thing I want you to learn. Matter of fact, I start everyone off with hard press, but I know big corners should really invest in hard press because it suits your skill set. The next thing I will say is inch technique is kind of an in-between. All right. Maybe a tall corner uses that. But it's more the next two. Soft press is really for guys with great feet. That tends to be shorter corners. You guys that are 5'10", 5'9", 5'8", 5'7". God gave you quick feet because he didn't give you the height. And so using those techniques are solid for guys with quick feet. Think about it. You're inching back, so you got to take quick steps. If you're motoring back, got to take quick steps. You can change direction pretty fast, so you'd be pretty good with mirroring, should be, if you're a shorter corner. So, I'm more apt to be cool with a shorter corner using that as his main technique. All right. Because you're trying to win a foot battle against guys. And because you're undersized, maybe you don't want to go the route of playing the hard technique because that's not really your tools. That's not your skill set. You might run into some trouble there against a bigger wide receiver. If you're a 5'9" guy and you're going up against a DK Metcalf, it might be more difficult for you to just be getting hands on and jamming a guy like that all day long, trying to win at the line of scrimmage. I distinctly remember, I think it was DK Metcalf's rookie year in the NFL. They played the Philadelphia Eagles. He went up against Darius Slay, who is a 6 foot corner, but he is slighter in frame, you could say, than most corners. And Slay was up at the line of scrimmage trying to press him early in the game. And if you hear him tell the story about it, it's really, really funny because, Slay he's a funny guy, and he's also a guy with some humility. If someone's getting the best of him, he will let you know. He just made the comment early on, this dude is strong as hell. And so, Slay being a veteran and a guy that's a well-rounded DB just started playing in the second half. All right. He didn't even go to a soft press or, a motor technique. He just started playing off more. I say that to just let you know that this is a guy that used the tools that were available to him in a one-on-one battle versus a guy You don't want to get in if it was a boxing match and the guy is a slugger and he has heavy hands, but you've got speed. Are you going to sit in there and just trade blows with a guy? No, you're going to end up getting knocked out. So, for my smaller DBs, I would say your main technique is probably an inch or a motor technique, which is considered soft press. Now, if you're trying to be a really, really good defensive back, whether you're 6'1" or you're 5'9", you're trying to get good at both of those techniques. Mind you, now, if you're a 5'9", 5'8" defensive back, it doesn't mean you can't play hard press. You might be a strong guy. You might be a guy that when you get hands on to a wide receiver, you're pretty strong and you've got a good low center of gravity and you can kind of move guys. All right. There are guys like that. So don't cancel out hard press just because you're not tall. You might be strong. A guy like Darrelle Revis, who's 5'11", so he wasn't Richard Sherman. He's considered a tall corner. The guy was very, very strong. And that's a guy that played hard press. All right. He played a lot of hard press when he was in the league, and he was very disruptive. And he went up against guys like Andre Johnson, who's a 230, 35-pound wide receiver. Megatron. He went up against guys like Terrell Owens. So he went up against big wide receivers, and he held his own playing a hard press technique. So don't, like I said, cancel out hard press simply because you're not tall. It's better for tall guys, but if you're a strong, well-built, know how to not just have upper body strength, but know how to lower your weight and play with good center of gravity like a Revis, invest in that hard press. Invest in it because you want to be disruptive at the line of scrimmage and change the shape of the route and mess up guys' timing. However, it's good to have that whole toolbox for a number of reasons. You may go into a game and your main technique, which is hard press, let's say, is not really working against this guy. You're having a hard time, or this particular guy really knows how to beat that hard press. How good is it now to reach into your tool belt and be able to play a different technique? Now I can inch or I can play soft press and see how that works for me, or vary the techniques, make the guy think at the line of scrimmage, and I have more opportunities to win. Then there are situations. Some teams will have the corners press in their quarters coverage. If you're pressing in quarters, you most definitely want to be in a situation where you play soft press. You want to be over the top of the routes. You don't want to run any risk of the route getting over the top of you in quarters, because why? There's sometimes in quarters where it turns into zero coverage and you have no help, especially on those posts. If there's a dig being run by the guy inside, your safety's not going to be there. And chasing a wide receiver from behind on a post that's going maybe to the other numbers, I don't care how fast you are, it's not going to be a really, really good experience for you to be doing that. And also certain downs and distances. You may want to play a little bit of a softer technique. 1st and 10, or your backside on a 3rd and 10, and you're supposed to be pressing in the particular defense it's called. Maybe you want to play a soft press technique as opposed to a hard press technique. If you're a soft press guy and it's 3rd and 3, and you know this team runs slants and they run well, I don't know if soft press or motor technique is something you really want to be in. It's very difficult to cover those slants when you're playing that motor technique. The motor technique is really for vertical runs. Okay, so, obviously a go ball, maybe some comebacks, a vertical stem into a dig or a post. It's good for those routes. It's better for those routes, but not good for stuff like slants, stop routes, and things of that nature, because you've got too much weight going back, and then you've got to get it stopped and come back downhill on a timing throw. They can kind of work the hell out of you if you're strictly a soft press guy. All right. So you want to be able to, in a situation like a 3rd and 3 where you feel pretty good, a slant might be coming here, or a stop route or something like that nature. You want to be disruptive at the line of scrimmage, and you want to be able to play a hard press technique. So you want to have a core technique that you use. All right. It's your home base. This is my main thing. This is my main weapon. So whether that's hard press or inch technique or motor, then you also want to spend some time learning those other things. It's like one of these UFC, you got your main thing that you do. Right? you're a wrestler, you're a jujitsu guy, you're a boxer, but you're going to kind of need to know some other things, right? If you're a wrestler, yeah, I know you want to get everyone to the ground, but if you find yourself in a bit of a slugging match, you want to be able to use your hands a little bit. And obviously, if you're a boxer or you're, one of these other disciplines that require you to be on your feet, you better know what to do when a guy gets you down on the ground. So you do have to spend some time in your training on wrestling and different techniques and at least getting out of some of those holes. You're going to find yourself tapping out of line. It's the same thing as defensive back. So if you're new in this game, you find a technique that you're most comfortable with, that's going to work for you, something that you can rely on, okay, your main thing. And again, if you're a tall guy, you might want to invest in being a hard press guy. If you're a shorter DB, maybe inch or motors for you. But don't forget about the other techniques so that you can have a full tool belt so you can be ready for any situation against any guy. And that's really how I would break it down as to what press technique you should use. I'm not going to ever really give an answer on what I think is the best press technique. I'll tell you what my favorite is, and that's hard press. Maybe I'm old school, but I know the reason why, as a coach, as a coordinator, why you're trying to play press most of the time is to disrupt timing. And so that's why I lean more towards hard press as a favorite. That's just me. That's a personal feeling about it. So I'm more of a hard press guy, but my answer is try to learn all of these things, have your main one, and try to learn all things. So, repeating myself here. So, time now to move into our main topic here. And we've talked about press, but more and more, you're seeing where the importance of ball skills as a defensive back. All right. And there was a time where they would have this joke, oh, you're playing defensive back because you couldn't catch the ball as a wide receiver. Funny joke, whatever. And you could get by as a defensive back as just a big pass breakup guy. You drop interceptions and things like that, but you'd always be around a wide receiver and you'd be able to, down pass and things of that nature. That was cool back in the day where, passing was a 50-50 position, right? Both getting them completed as well as how much it's used in the game. The game was more about running backs and controlling the ground game and the line of scrimmage. The football is, I don't want to get anyone confused on that. Football is still about what's happening up front, okay? And this is a DB telling you this. The game is won up front in the trenches. What's happening with that offensive and defensive line is where the game is still won. However, we all concede that there's more passing in this game. It's moved more into throwing the football. And so with that being the case, it is ultra important for defensive backs to have ball skills for a number of reasons. Obviously, you want to get turnovers, all right? That's how you become an All-American. That's how you become All-County, All-State. That's how you make it to the next level. That's how you get Pro Bowls, bigger contracts, numbers, right? Everyone's into analytics, numbers. And so having those stats, having interceptions piled up will definitely get you paid and put you in a better light and make you more valuable to your team. Because in the past, okay, maybe you break a pass up on second down, and then on third down, who knows what they do? They run the ball, whatever the case may be. In this day and age, though, you break up a pass that you could have intercepted, and they get a third down, they convert the third down. And nowadays, they're going for it on fourth down. So you're giving the offense another chance when you don't turn that ball over. When you have that opportunity to make an interception, take the ball away. We need it. And you got to have ball skills to do this. The other thing is, when I talk about ball skills, guys think it's just about catching the ball in your hands. No, it also encompasses you tracking a deep ball, getting in good position, and then making the catch. When a guy lacks ball skills, sometimes it's just not about catching the ball. They might be okay catching a pass thrown right to them 10, 15 yards away. Then they might struggle, though, 40, 35, 50 yards down the field on the deep ball in tracking the ball, being in good position, and being able to take the ball away from the wide receiver. That's a part of ball skills as well. So we have seen the evolution of the game where there are a lot more passes. There are the DBs are getting attacked a lot more. Hell, we've got 5 DBs full-time on the field now And it's important for you to develop your ball skills and get the ball taken away, because the name of the game is get the ball back and give it to your offense. Get the ball, give it back to your offense, because, hey, man, you guys play fantasy football. It's all about offense. So the more times as a DB you can turn the ball over, get those interceptions, give it back to the offense, better chances that you're giving your team to win the games. Pass breakups are just not enough anymore. All right. Yeah, there was love for a guy like Darrelle Revis, who, when he was more of a big pass breakup guy, people fail to realize. I think Revis has 29 career interceptions. All right. Hall of Famer, of course. What he did during his time, he was the most dominant DB corner of his time. But truth of the matter is, this guy with 29 interceptions in his career. Compare that to a guy like an Asante Samuel has 50 plus. Deion Sanders 50 plus. Ron Woodson 75, I think, interceptions in his career, and a bunch of other DBs that are up around 50 or so, at 50 plus, late 40s. Darrelle Revis, for all of his greatness, was 29 interception guy, but he can do that. But the game, like I said, has evolved so much more. You've got to be able to get those interceptions. The pass breakups just aren't good enough. The ball skills, guys, separates good DBs from great DBs. That's really what's happening nowadays. So remember what I said about, they joked about, oh, you're defensive back because you couldn't catch. It's just not cool anymore. They will do a number of drills as you guys watch the Senior Bowl, and the Senior Bowl means that, hey, the Combine's coming soon. I would urge you guys to watch the Combine and watch the drills that DBs do. There's hard evaluation there on a guy's ball skills, his ability to be comfortable with his hands, make catches away from his body, track a deep ball. These are all serious things that they're tracking now, where they didn't so much before. There was a time where it wasn't that. It's always been important, and guys who could take the ball away have always been, guys with high interception numbers have always been valuable in this game, but it has become even more valuable, and thus a bigger part of the evaluation. And that's how they kind of separate the great DBs from the good ones, the good DBs from the bad DBs. Those guys that are going to run down the field and not make a play on them. I don't know, they don't last. All right. They frustrate coaches. So you've got to be able to track the ball. You got to be able to get in a good position. You've got to have strong hands. And by that, I mean, be able to catch away from your body and take the ball away from guys like a DeAndre Hopkins, who I always cite when I talk about this. That guy has great hands. He'll make the tough catch. So much so that he doesn't even care about his release off the line of scrimmage. Anyone watch DeAndre Hopkins' releases? His release package is by far one of the worst I've ever seen. But that guy will just run off the line of scrimmage, knowing that when the ball comes, I'll take the ball away from you. Well, if you've got strong hands, confident hands, he doesn't necessarily have to constantly win that battle. So you got to really develop your hands. It's great to go to the park and do a whole bunch of footwork drills. Yes, you need footwork to play this position. Don't forget to train your hands there. So you guys have got to start working repetitions with high pointing the football, catching the deep football and catching the ball off of your chest. A lot of guys want to do that. You got to penalize yourself in your mind. If there's not a trainer out there or a coach out there saying it to you, you got to be your own coach or trainer. If you're out there with a friend and catching a deep ball, don't catch the ball. The saying that I have is, we don't breastfeed the ball out. Don't catch that ball and cradle it up against your chest like it's a child and you're female trying to breastfeed it. Away from your body, you got to do those high point drills. You've got to do blind ball drills. And what do I mean by that? If you've seen drills, obviously on my channel, but if you've seen a drill on the Combine where they're backpedaling towards a coach, and then on his command, they turn and the ball's already been thrown and they've got to catch it late. Or you've seen the hip flip drill where they're running and then the ball is thrown, and then the coach says when the ball's in the air, he yells out ball, and they've got to locate it quickly. Those are what I call blind ball drills. Why is it blind? It's that you didn't see the ball come out of the quarterback's head. And that's the world that we live in as DBs. You're running down the field, you're covering a wide receiver, the ball is thrown. He probably saw it leave the quarterback's hand, and so he has the advantage of being able to track the entire flight of the ball. And we at some point realize the ball is coming. We turn our head around and it's in mid-flight. That could create a panicked situation for a lot of DBs. If you don't practice blind ball drills. You've got to be able to locate the ball in mid-flight. That's going to make you more comfortable when you get in the game and you're in that situation. A lot of guys panic when the ball is coming. And one of the big reasons they do panic is they're in that situation where they didn't see the ball through them. They turn around, it's there, and they, tend to panic and overreact. Oh, is the ball short? They kind of slow down, ball goes over there. Or they can't really judge it. They're running, and the receiver is judging it better than you. He pulls up short, catches it, and now he makes a play on a misthrown ball that you could have easily caught because it was a short thrown ball and you had the inside position and things of that nature. Another thing, you guys have watched me do drills, and then you see me using a lacrosse ball and get asked several times, why do I use it? Because a lot of times when you are catching footballs over and over and over in the course of doing drills, so I mean, you're doing a footwork drill or change of direction drill, and football is a part of it, you tend to take the catching part for granted. So after a few catches, you were focused, then you stop focusing and you start taking your eyes off of the ball. You start looking beyond the ball, and you take the catch for granted. Nothing can redirect your focus to catching like these small lacrosse moves. You start using those in your drills. You just are going to naturally be more focused now, like on the smaller object, and it returns your focus to the catching part of the drill. And that's a lot of why you use the lacrosse balls. It gives you better hand-eye coordination, and it returns your focus to catching. So use those. And then finally, man, there's nothing wrong with you using a session here or there when you go to the park with your friends or maybe even with a trainer and just training as a wide receiver, running the route tree. Go do what it is that they do and catch like they do. And then when you get in the game, you could run like they do and catch like they do. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do what the receiver is trying to do, and that is catch the ball. So go out every now and then if you have a quarterback friend or a friend that can throw decently and run the route tree. Run a 1, run a 2, run a 3. Go through the whole route tree on one side and the route tree on the other side and do a little receiver training session. I think I'm going to post some of those in my members area. Train as a receiver every now and then. Hell, if you have the ability, if there's a receiver coach in your area and you want to go do a couple sessions there with them, a couple receiver sessions, don't sleep on that. Don't sleep on doing that in the off season and watching it improve your ball skills. It improves your IQ knowledge. You're going to get some training and knowledge as to how those routes are run, how they're trying to beat the DB. But the biggest thing you're going to get out of that is just catching the football like a wide receiver. These are things that are going to help you with your ball skills. Repeating again, turnovers are a really big part of this game, whether you can punch the ball out and force fumbles or just at least catch the interceptions that are thrown right to you, all right? It'd be nice to battle a guy for a ball, jump over him, both of y'all go for a 50-50 ball and you take it away. But at the very least, when a ball is thrown right to you, if you're fortunate enough to put yourself in a great position in a game and have a ball thrown right to you, guys, you want to catch that ball. If you don't, it haunts you for the rest of that week. Hell, I still think about interceptions I dropped in my career. My career playing has been long gone. All right? It's been long gone, so you don't really get haunted by too many of those. I don't think a guy like Ed Reed thinks a whole bunch about interceptions that he didn't get because he got a lot of them. He seemingly got all of them that he got his hands on. That guy had great hands, okay? So you want to be able to convert those opportunities. So you want to call yourself a great DB. You want to be All-American, All-County. You want to be the DB MVP. You want to go to the next level, whatever that is, whether it's from high school to college, college to pro. Rack up those interceptions. And it's going to happen, A, with a good IQ and knowledge, B, good technique to put you in the right position, and then C, being having good hands, being able to catch that football and take it away when it comes your way. All right. That's going to wrap things up for us here on the Indy Drills podcast. Pleased that you guys stopped in. Appreciate it. Again, make sure you like this video, share it, like this podcast. If you're not watching the video, I want to be sure I'm talking to everyone here, you guys listening to me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything like that. Be sure to give us a like. And then you know what really helps me? Rate this podcast. If you like this podcast and the information I'm giving out to you, go ahead and give it a rating. So if that question comes up there or you see that box that asks you that, hey, give me the rating that I deserve, which we all know is a 5-star rating. So you can rate me in the Apple Store or wherever it is. Those ratings do help brings more people to the table and really makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Once again, though, check out 101 DB Tips. I'll have a link to it in the description down below. But I'll also say this, I'm really excited about the brand new members area that I got started last November. I've always had this members area, but moved to a new platform, and it's been outstanding. The feedback has been great. It allows me to be more connected with you guys and answer DMs right away. It's really a whole lot better to comment on the videos and the posts that I put up. I can do live programs there where I explain certain things out there and get feedback from you guys. Plus, it's a whole community, so everyone that's in the All Eyes DB Camp members area can share information, ask questions, get some talking back and forth. It really is a superpower. So if you have the means and you're in the members area, plus you got 101 DB Tips, I'm going to make this guarantee to you. You will have a better season this year than the last. If you got 101 DB Tips, you're in the members area, you will have a better 2025 season than the 2024 season. You can take that to the bank. So links to both of them will be down in the description, as well as the All Eyes DB Camp shop link will be there as well. If you pick up some gear there for you, got everything: hoodie, short sleeve, long sleeves, no sleeves, sweatpants, all kind of stuff there. Armbands, got it all for you. All right, all kind of DB gear. So I appreciate you guys stepping in, check those things out, and jump on those resources, up your knowledge, get what you need out there. That's going to be it for me. I'm taking off. As always, All Eyes DB Camp. Consistency breeds results. See you guys next week.